The gate area fell silent as a tall man in a crisp pilot's uniform stood frozen, staring at the woman blocking his path. The flight attendant's voice dripped with suspicion as she told him passengers weren't allowed beyond this point. He calmly explained, again, that he was the captain for the flight she was working. But she just smirked, folding her arms. "Nice try. You people are always trying to talk your way into places you don't belong." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras came up. The man's jaw tightened. He didn't argue. He just reached for his phone. The call he made would flip the entire power dynamic in less than 5 minutes. Captain Marcus Bell had been flying commercial aircraft for over 15 years. A decorated Air Force veteran turned airline captain, he was known among colleagues for his calm under pressure and meticulous professionalism. This morning, he was set to pilot a cross-country flight from Dallas to Seattle, a standard assignment he'd done dozens of times before. He arrived at the airport early, as always, wearing his full uniform, a tailored navy jacket, gold-striped epaulets on his shoulders, and a well-worn leather flight bag at his side. The security lines were busy, and the boarding area was already filling with passengers when he approached the gate. The gate crew recognized him instantly, waving him through. But just beyond the jet bridge entrance, a flight attendant he didn't know stepped into his path. She was new to the airline, young, confident, and clearly in charge of the boarding process. "Sir, you can't be back here," she said firmly. "I'm the captain for this flight," Marcus replied, offering a friendly nod. Her eyes narrowed. "Do you have any idea how many people try that line to sneak onto planes? Let's see some proof." Marcus was used to protocol, so he handed over his airline ID. She barely glanced at it before shaking her head. "This doesn't look real. I'll need to call security." The tone in her voice wasn't about rules, it was about disbelief. Marcus had felt it before, in different forms, in different places. That unspoken "you don't belong here." Passengers nearby began to watch the exchange, their eyes darting between Marcus's uniform and the attendant's skeptical expression. "I assure you," Marcus said evenly, "this ID is valid. You can verify it with the gate agent you just passed." She crossed her arms. "Or I can save us all some time and have you escorted out now. You're holding up boarding." Marcus resisted the urge to react. Years of experience had taught him that responding in anger only gave people like this more power. Still, he could feel the tension building. His crew was already aboard, waiting for him. The flight was scheduled to depart in less than an hour, and every minute mattered. Instead of verifying his credentials, the attendant turned to a nearby passenger and said loudly, "We've had issues with imposters before. I'm just doing my job." The implication hung heavy in the air. A man in a pilot's uniform, a black man, was being treated like a trespasser in front of dozens of strangers. Marcus took a slow breath. "If you're not going to confirm my ID with the gate, then please call the chief pilot's office. They'll clear this up in seconds," she smirked. "Or I can just call airport security. Up to you." The murmur of voices grew. A child asked their parent why the pilot was in trouble. Someone else started filming. Marcus decided then that the conversation was over. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his phone, and dialed a direct number. "Marcus Bell here," he said when the voice on the other end answered. "We've got a problem at gate C12. I'm being blocked from boarding my own flight by a crew member." AP, the person on the other end, didn't ask for details. They simply said, "Stay where you are." It took less than 3 minutes. A tall man in a dark suit appeared at the gate, flanked by 2 senior airline managers. Their expressions were grim as they walked straight past the startled gate agents and onto the jet bridge. "Captain Bell," the man in the suit said, extending his hand. "I apologize for the delay. We'll get you on board immediately." The flight attendant's confidence faltered. "Wait, this man doesn't have proper credentials." The manager cut her off. "He's your captain, and he's also one of the most senior pilots in our fleet." What exactly made you think you had the authority to stop him? Her mouth opened, but no words came. Passengers were watching from the gate, cameras still rolling. The other manager stepped forward. You will gather your things and leave the aircraft immediately. Your services are no longer required for this flight or for this airline. Gasps filled the air. The attendant's face went pale. You're firing me. Over this? The first manager's voice was ice. Over your conduct. Over the fact that you ignored protocol, refused to verify credentials, and publicly humiliated a member of your own crew, based solely on your assumptions. Security arrived, not for Marcus, but for her. She was escorted away, her earlier authority now reduced to silence. Marcus walked down the jet bridge, the passengers parting to let him pass. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Every step was a reminder of who he was and what she had. Just learned in the hardest way possible. The flight departed 30 minutes late, but the mood on board was different. The crew treated Marcus with an extra level of respect, and passengers who had witnessed the incident offered quiet nods or small words of support as they settled in. In the cockpit, Marcus went through his pre-flight checks as if nothing had happened. Years of professionalism had taught him to compartmentalize, to focus on the task at hand, not the insult left behind. But as the plane climbed through the clouds, he thought about how easily the situation could have gone differently. If he had reacted with anger, if he hadn't had the authority and connections to make that one call, the story might have ended with him being escorted away instead. For many others in his position, it still does. When the flight landed, in Seattle, Marcus received a message from the airline's CEO, personally apologizing for what had happened. The attendant's termination was confirmed, and the company announced new bias training for all employees. Marcus didn't celebrate her firing. He wasn't interested in revenge, but he hoped it sent a message. Prejudice had no place in the cockpit, the cabin, or anywhere in between. That night, as he hung up his uniform jacket, he thought of the passengers who had watched the entire scene unfold. Some had spoken up. Others had stayed silent. In the end, the lesson was simple. Authority means nothing if it's built on assumptions, and respect means everything when it's backed by truth. If you had been standing at that gate, watching it all happen, would you have stepped forward?